Thanks, Brock. Appreciate everybody being here today. Obviously, it's an exciting time, unprecedented time here at Mississippi State, and we're really proud to be a part of it. I don't think 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, when we came here, we thought we'd be standing here today in 3 short years, and we'd be where we are right now. I think my staff and I had a vision, and I think we thought that it could be done, and it's been fun for us to be where we are today. It's been a lot of fun getting here. It's a great credit to our team, to our players, and again to my staff. A lot of people across the country have a pretty good opinion about us right now. All we're talking about is trying to get better every day and living it. You know, I want to be where everybody thinks we are right now. I'd like to be there at about March 15th. That's where I'd like to be. So it's all great right now. It's exciting. Players have been working awfully hard. We've had some bumps and bruises along the way. Zion hasn't really practiced very much at all for us. She's actually played with a stress fracture in her leg, and by the time we found it, she had already started healing, but she hasn't practiced pretty much in 3 weeks, so she hasn't practiced hardly at all. But other than that, kids have been working extremely hard. It's been a lot of fun. This is a fun team to coach. They're working awfully hard, and so I think we've got a chance, but right now that's all we've got, and so we'll keep working hard and try to do what everybody thinks we're going to do. And right now that's all it is. We've got to live it, and that's what we talk about with our kids every day, is trying to live the expectations, because quite frankly we have those for ourselves, whether anybody else thought of us that way or not. And you know, with our kids, we've got 3 starters back. Morgan played a lot of minutes last year, but she wasn't a starter. And so we've got 3 starters back, 1 senior. So we're still very young, and we make a lot of young mistakes every day in the hump, that's for sure. But they're a fun group. They work pretty hard, and I expect that that will continue. They're pretty motivated right now.
Good afternoon.
It's not on, but I can hear you.
It's not. You mentioned the progression of the program.
Yeah.
Why have you gotten here to this point in 3 years where you're unprecedented in the national rankings, coming off of 27 wins, 11 in the SEC? Why, if I was going to ask you for one reason, why is this program where it is entering the season?
Well, I don't think there's one reason. I can't give you one answer. I think it's a culmination. There's a formula that I talked about with Scott when he was talking about trying to hire me, and you know, he knew that we had the blueprint, and part of it is you got to have the right staff. You know, and from day one he supported us in that manner. We were able to go out, and we continue to have, in my opinion, the best staff in the country. But I had to be able to go get the right staff, number one. Number two, we had to change how we looked. I mean, when we get off the bus now, we look like an SEC team at 6'7", 6'5", 6'3". At the 5, our 4 players are 6'1", tremendous frames. Got 6'1", 2 guard, 5'11", 2 guard. Point guards are awfully quick, speedy, and so we just had to change our team. We were, you know, we just didn't look like an SEC team when we got here, and that's the first thing. You can't be, if you're not physical. I don't care what sport it is. In the SEC, if you're not physical, you got no chance to win. All you got to do is look across on Saturdays and see who's winning early and is not winning in October and November. And part of their problem probably is the physical part. And you can't be physical if you don't have, to me, if you don't have the frames to be physical. That's number one. So right now, I think when we get off the bus, we look like an SEC team. That's a big piece to the puzzle. And so I think you've got to be able to be that. I think you've got to certainly have a skill set, and that's certainly important. So the recruiting piece has been very important. Again, Johnny, Deanna, Elena do an unbelievable job in recruiting, and quite frankly, this university, it recruits itself. I mean, we just don't lose kids if we get them here on campus. This is a beautiful place. People just, when they get here, we've gotten so many times, Coach, we had no idea this was here, and gosh, it's gorgeous. And in Mississippi State, this university just is a great place. It's an easy sell, and I think there's a feeling of family here, not just in our program, but all across campus and across our athletic team. So, but the recruiting piece is a tremendous piece to it, and then I think we do a good job of, we recruit well, we retain, and we develop our kids. And I think our staff does a tremendous job developing the players that we have, and so I think that's probably as big a key as any. The recruiting, the retaining, and the developing.
What type of role do you see Jasmine Spears playing on this year's team?
Well, I need Jasmine Spears to play like the first team WBCL American that she was in junior college, and the 3,200 point score she was in high school. I mean, she rebounded the ball in high school. She scored in traffic. And, it's funny that you ask about her, because just in the last 3 or 4 practices, I've seen her come on a little bit, and I need that. Our 4 players have got to rebound. They have got to battle in there and help us on the boards, and she has really come on just in the last week in that role. So my role for her is, obviously I need her to rebound. I need her to finish inside. I need her to be able to stretch it at the 4 and make some shots, stretching it at the 3-point line. But just be that heady basketball player. When I saw her in high school, she was just tough, relentless, could score inside, 2 and 3 people hanging on her. And so I need her to be that player.
I know you had mentioned the other night after the scrimmage that Morgan and some others had some injury issues and all. Do you anticipate being full strength for the opener?
Oh, I do, absolutely, yeah. And again, it's it's nothing major, but we've had our fair shares of bumps and bruises along the way, and some kids have, Jasmine Holmes missed 11 days of practice with a concussion. So, she's been back now about a week. So we've had some dings, and but that's kind of part of it.
Close by. If you were going to target an average points per game, rebounds per game for your centers, whoever's going to be in that mix, what would the ideal mix be, and why would it be that? Why would those averages be where they are?
That's a great question, Adam. We for so many years in my past, we've won 27 games a year. One year with a 5 player that was 6'3" and averaged 5 rebounds and 5 points a game. But we had obviously we were a great defensive team, and we had a great supporting cast. And I think with this team, our inside game, if we could count on them to just get somewhere between 10 and 15 points just on layups, stickbacks between Chinway and Big T and Reese. Reese's range is a little better than the other 2, but if you could get just stickbacks and then the defensive piece that those bring, especially Tierra McCowan and Chinway, the altering shots, the blocking shots, you got that piece. We were talking about rebounding the other day in the locker room, and I was complaining that we're not rebounding the ball. And the response from my 4s and 3s was, Coach, we can't get any rebounds because of T. She's getting them all. And, she had 13 in the scrimmage the other night. But that's a little bit of a stretch. But at the same time, it's partly true. She takes up a lot of room in there, and she's going to get a lot of rebounds. So, I don't know that I have a specific number. I think some nights are going to be better than others. Obviously, when you've got that big aircraft carrier inside, and we happen to have 2 of them, I think it really allows you to even create more pressure on the perimeter, and there's less heartache on penetration, because even if you give up penetration, there's 6'5" and 6'7" standing there, one or the other. So I think hopefully it will allow us to continue to be that pressure defensive team that we like to be, with a little less heartache of people getting to the rim and finishing. You know, Martha was a great helper, but sometimes she helped too much to a fault and they dump it down to hers and we'd give up that layup. And so right now we're trying to teach that happy medium with both of them, especially T. She sometimes doesn't go to help, but I think it's more of she doesn't realize how much help she can be right now. And so, to answer your question, I don't know that there's a number. Those kids don't have to be flashy. We don't have to put pressure on them to score. They just need to clean up some stuff we miss, play good defense, and be a great defensive rebounder.
Coach, I know they're tough pills to swallow at the time, but you look at the tough losses like 2014 at South Florida and then last year at Duke. Can those build character, or can those help in the long run when you're trying to get to where you want to be?
Well, I think it certainly is an experience that you can draw from. And, you know, those are painful experiences. They're disappointing experiences. But at the same time, I think there's absolutely is lessons to be learned in those. You know, I think that, you know, the one thing we did last year in the SEC, we won the games we were supposed to win, and we didn't lose any that we were supposed to win. And so, you know, this league is such a nightmare of a league, and it's a tough league. And we'll have our work cut out for us again this year. Tremendous challenge. But I certainly do believe in that. Yeah, I think those are certainly experiences that you draw upon and hopefully mature you as a basketball team.
How do you go about embodying those expectations you talked about and the country has for you after you lose a Martha Allwall, a Jerica James, and a Kendra Grant?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think you don't realize it until, you know, I'm writing it down every day in practice what my teams are. We got maroon and white, and you know, when a Victoria as a freshman was struggling, you're putting Kendra Grant, who's a senior in the game, who's had 20 against Tennessee before. Well, that's a pretty good whoopee blanket, so to speak, a comfort to know that you got that kid that can come off the bench with that kind of experience. You got Jerica James, who really developed over the 3 years that we were here, made some big shots for us, and really was a calming point guard that could run your offense in a half-court setting, whereas Morgan was that speed racer up and down the court, really great in the open court point guard. So now that's the challenge with Morgan, is teaching her not only the up and down piece, but hey, when it gets to be a half-court game, and trust me, in the SEC, that's what you win with. You win with half-court offense and half-court defense. Can you go get me in a set? Can you get us in a successful set that we can go score in? So, you know, those kids, and again, then you're trying to replace a defensive player of the year, first team All-SEC player in Martha. So those kids, again, I take great pride in my staff does too. I think we developed those kids. Those were kids that stayed through the transition. It was not an easy transition for those kids, especially that first year. But I think they tell you today, well worth it. Getting them to the NCAA tournament was my goal from day one, and I told them, if you'll stick it out, I promise you, we're going to get you to the NCAA tournament. And this was very gratifying to be able to reward those kids with that experience. So it's hard. You know, that's the challenge, and that's what I told Brock the other day. Everywhere I'm seeing, we got 4 starters back. Last time I checked, we only got 3. We didn't have 6 players we were starting. And so, you know, that's the thing. Certainly Morgan played a lot of minutes, played more minutes on the average than JJ, but she still came off the bench. She was able to sit and watch JJ start a ball game and learn from what's going good, what's not going good. And then I think the change of pace was really good. JJ was, like I said, a real settling half-court player, whereas then all of a sudden you put in Speedy Gonzalez, and here comes Morgan, who's the fastest player I've ever coached in my life, and sometimes to a fault she'd leave the ball behind her, she's so fast. So I think that gave us a different look, and it hurt people.
We hadn't really talked a lot about Dominique. She's been a huge part of your success defensively. How much are you going to need her on the offensive side of the ball, or do you feel like you're deep enough at guard that you're going to get some production there? And how has she developed it on offense?
Yeah, no, she's coming, you know, and then that was something we talked about this summer. We told her, hey, I said, I'm going to run some more. I'm going to run a bunch of sets for you. For us to be good, to really be good, you're going to have to score. It'll take some pressure off Victoria because now Victoria's had a year. People are going to know how to guard her, what to take away from her. And so Dom's going to have to score for us. And so she's worked pretty hard in the gym this summer on her shot, and she's been shooting the ball fairly well. And that's going to be a big key, no question about it. I can sit here and talk about, well, we got to get Dom's minutes down because she just plays so many, she plays so hard, and all this. Bottom line is, Dom probably ain't going to let me take her off the floor. She's just that much of a competitor. She impacts the game in so many ways. So I've told her, make me keep you on the floor that many minutes because you're also going to get me 12, 14 points, 10 points a night. If you can get 10 and 6 opposite of Victoria, hey, we're going to be hard to deal with. And so I think she's embraced that, and she's looked really good. I mean, she has been doing a great job in preseason.
Which I think you mentioned it after one of the early practices that Blair was shooting the ball well for you. What has her development been like, and do you see her minutes increasing this year?
Well, I get that question a lot. Between her and LaCaris, those are the two everybody wants to see on the floor more. And, Blair's minutes will increase when she doesn't turn the ball over and she can guard the ball a little bit with a little bit more success. She's a great help side defender. She has a great understanding of the game, and she's a tremendous shooter. We know that. LaCaris's minutes will increase when she doesn't turn the ball over as much, when she can go from an ice cream with 8 toppings to just being plain old vanilla. That's what I keep telling my team sometimes. And LaCaris, but you know what? I'm going to have to let her play a little bit like she likes to play with that flair. I just need her not to turn the ball over when she wants to have that flair. But that's the key with any player. I can't play you if you're turning the ball over. And so I think to answer your question with Blair, she's a tremendous post feeder. She feeds the post extremely well. But again, she'll take those chances too sometimes when it isn't there. And so just don't turn the ball over. It's key. We got to get a shot every possession. That's big for me. And when you play fast like I like to play, sometimes that's hard, but we got to do it. We got to be better at that. So.
You talked after the maroon white about Victoria and her shooting percentage. I forget, 9 of 22, 24, something like that.
9 for 25, 36%.
25. Getting her to understand that you maybe need her to be 9 of 20, 9 of 18 for you guys to be more efficient. How do you get her to appreciate that while not curbing her aggressiveness and her natural scorer's instinct and having her kind of find a happy medium?
It's hard. It's a kid that, you can talk about every shot she takes, but at one point in time, you've seen her make them. And so it's a fine line in trying to coach her a little bit, but I think I think one of the coaches in the league called her a volume shooter before one of our games last year. Well, that's not a compliment, and so for her, if she'll just understand that 9 for 25 could have been 9 for 20, 9 for 19, and that percentage goes from 36 to 45, 48, that's where I'd like her to be. And we talked about that after the season was over last year, about taking 36% and trying to get to 42. And you think, well, that's not that much. Well, over the course of a season, it can be. And so, but at the same time, we've all seen her, boy, get on a roll, and she makes 4, 5, 6 shots, and 2 or 3 of them you're going, wow. And 1 or 2 of them you're going, no, 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 yes. And so it's just one of those deals where that kid's got a lot of confidence. She's made a bunch of shots in her career, both in high school and here at state. And so, you have to be careful, I think, in how you approach that. But I think she's learning too. She's got help. I mean, she's got a lot of help, and so she doesn't have to wear all the pressure of being that player's got to take the game winner. And so, but it's good to have somebody on your team that wants the ball, and she absolutely wants the ball. She is an unbelievable competitor.
How do you go about maybe in the non-conference developing some depth behind Victoria and a Morgan, like you said, that they had Jarek and Kendra last year? Or are those two going to have to play 35, 36 minutes in the SEC?
Oh, I hope not. I don't, I think it's, I hope we were able to develop Kayla and Blair to give us that, to give us some depth off the bench at those two spots. And then hopefully you can bring along Bree where she can play a little 3 over there for Dom. Bottom line is Bree's my best 4 player, and until I find another one that can get the job done, it's hard to take her out of that 4 spot. Right now, Dom might very well be my best point guard. Y'all don't know that, but with Morgan being out the last few days, Jazz has been great, but Dom is kind of JJ. She's that calming effect. She's got a tremendous presence. Dominique Dillingham has unbelievable presence on the court, and she understands the offense, and she's really good in a couple sets that we run for our point guards in getting her shot and getting a great shot. And she makes good decisions with the ball. She doesn't turn it over. So, it's really a good position to be in. I don't know how many remember 2 years ago at Alabama, we got down, and I had to play Dominique at point down the stretch and into overtime. And she'd never played there a minute here at State. And she did a great job, never turned it over. I think JJ had fouled out with like 10 minutes to go, and Katia was dying on the vine. And so, I had to play Dom there some. And in any case, absolutely, we've got to have depth. And the kids that are the depth right now are our young players. And so they're going to have to come along. But they're young players, y'all, that have done it throughout their high school careers, their AAU careers. Blair played in 29 out of 34 games last year. Kayla has really worked hard on her game. She's got a better mid-range game than Victoria or Blair. I mean, she's got that high-rising jump shot like Kendra had. Shoots it, big and high. So she's really impacted, I think, our team to date. And I think she's going to be, a big minute player for us. I need her to be.
I can just ask. You talked about Victoria. You brought up a great point about the help that she has on this year's team and last year's team as well. That's new to her. How much do you feel that she has to almost fight the temptation that she's always had the ability to make a shot from 24 feet? She's always had the freedom to take it. Now, think for a second. You probably have a better option than to hoist that.
Well, we talked this past weekend. I had someone come in and we did some team building stuff. And one of the things we watched was how good the San Antonio Spurs are at sharing the basketball. Now, there's a bunch of good individual players on that team, but they sacrifice the me for the we. They sacrifice themselves for the betterment of the team, that extra pass. And so we watched that. We talked about that, and that's something that we'll continue to draw from. And I think in your question there, that's where she's got to trust her teammates and know that, hey, I've got a good shot, but I bet you we can get a great one. And she's got a great one, and let's get the floor turned, and she's going to get a great shot. And so I think that's the evolution of any player, realizing that it's a team sport, and yes, certain players have to do certain things. We've all got a responsibility every night. And Victoria's, one of her responsibilities on our team is to score. But I think she's got to know that a contested shot versus a wide open shot and making that extra pass, enjoy the reward of seeing that and enjoy your teammate's success. And so, but again, you're talking about a kid that if she ever passed it in high school, coach was screaming at her. And that was just what was necessary for her team to be successful. And so she did what she was told. And so now it's hard to just all of a sudden change the mechanism and rework the mind there. So, but she's doing great, and she's continues to try to understand that and work that into her game. And I'm really proud of her because I do think she's adding that to her game.
Any other questions?
All right.